It's a Fun Away Daily. Adam Collins and Jeff Lemon here at Old Trafford for the West Indies India Daily. 3 days played at Port of Spain. A historic test match, the 100th between these famous cricketing nations. Jeff, sum up what's happened so far, if you can, in 30 seconds.
3 days, so that's 10 seconds per day. India were all out for 438. Kohli made 100, Rohit Sharma made 80, and West Indies been batting pretty slowly in reply, but doing their best. They're 229 for 5 and grinding away a couple of hundred runs behind. Kraigg Braithwaite at slow 75.
Yeah, that's the word for it, the grind. The rain interrupted third day. The marathon Ashwin spell that finally got rid of Braithwaite and opened him up a little bit, but the slow start. So day 3 was a little bit of a non-event in that sense. Neither side was able to really move forward. Days 1 and 2, however, moved quickly. There was quite a lot more going on day 1 than the scorecard would suggest, because after getting off to an absolute flyer, India batting first, West Indies fight back really hard, taking 4 wickets in the middle session. And for a time there, when Rahane gets out, India are under the pump. Enter Virat Kohli, 29th Test ton, pulling level with the great Don Bradman on that measure. His 500th international for India. He has a real sense of timing.
Yeah, so 182 for 4. So it's not like they were in real trouble, but there was a point where West Indies could have applied pressure at that point. That was after the big opening partnership between Jaiswal and Rohit Sharma, who cruised to 80, just sort of played at Rohit style, played a few pull shots, a few nice cover drives. Jaiswal was the more frenetic. He went after the bowling. He had a hook for 6 over mid-wicket. He was slashing through backward point a lot. That seems to be a go-to for him. And a bit of luck, they were frustrating the West Indies players. There was a really low catch that maybe was a drop. There were a couple through the cordon. They were getting more and more annoyed, and finally Jason Holder got the edge. We talked about Jason Holder on our previous West Indies show, and the frustrations that there have been for him. So he was able to get that breakthrough, and then a couple in quick time. So Shubman Gill makes 10 at number 3.
Yep.
2 boundaries off the edge, and then he's out off the inside, nicking the inside edge, and then Rahane chopping back onto the stumps, and Shannon Gabriel gets a wicket in his comeback as well. It's been a long time since Shannon Gabriel last turned out for the West Indies.
Yeah, at 148 kilometres an hour, which is a reminder of that point of difference. So Kemar Roach taking his 300th wicket for the West Indies across the formats on that opening day 2. And look, seeing the way Jaiswal plays, he hit a 6 early on, so did Rohit Sharma. You expect it from Rohit, but a new guy coming into the team who's trying to consolidate, you think, he loves to thrash the ball outside the off stump, and it's not without risk and ultimately falls in that mode of dismissal. But he looks a guy who is very much in the mould of a modern opener, left-handed, doesn't mind playing away from his body. He does defend under his eyes, but when he's expansive, it's almost pinning the ears back stuff through the offside, which is a most attractive player to watch, kind of in that left-hander mould that we've seen over the years. And batting with Rohit Sharma, who went to the top of the pops, the #1 batter in the world according to the ICC. In Test cricket for the first time this week.
They change that every 3 days, don't they?
True.
There's a new occupant constantly. I mean, about 4 different Australians went through there in about 4 weeks.
Well, Travis Head's second at the moment with Smith 5 and I think Labuschagne 6. That'll change because Labuschagne made a ton. Joe Root probably should have been #1 in the middle of all of that, but wasn't. But yes, now
probably
Rohit
has
Sharma
been for the last couple of years.
Yeah, at different points. But Rohit Sharma, it kind of shows the way his career's matured, hasn't it? Because away from home, which of course this Test match is in the Caribbean, he had an average of 20 and a home average of 80. For a long time, he struggled to break the mould of being a flat track bully, but he's now far more the man for all seasons. The way he batted in England back in 2021 showed that Australia in 2021, if you like, before the England trip over here, was where he finally found his mojo away from home.
Yep.
He's spent time at number 6 earlier in his career, famously in the Tendulkar farewell series against the Windies a decade ago. But now at the top of the list, when he gets on top of those pull shots, he's still one of the more entertaining players in world cricket too.
Yeah, he's almost become the away from home specialist in terms of just how reliable and consistent he can be there. Jamal Warrican, the man the authorities came to blame, got him with a beautiful piece of left arm bowling around the wicket, that classic sort of drift in, turn away, down the wrong line. But that was after Rohit had already got India that really solid cushion with the 80 that he made. And so then it was that bit of pressure on Kohli and Jadeja. Jadeja at 6, if they get through him, they can tunnel through the rest, would have been the idea. And Kohli just starts playing through the covers. Just there was nothing overly expansive. It was sort of circumspect, just the punch here, the punch there, open the face a little bit, go behind point, and then Jadeja starts chipping in a similar vein. And they played, it was such conventional kind of Test cricket. It was West Indies just bowling a line, a sort of fifth stump line outside off stump, and just staying there as consistently as they could, sort of classic fast bowler stuff. And the Indian pair just waiting for the one that had the length that let them go after it.
This India side is so good. If you get your chance, you've got to take it. And the Windies had it at 182 for 4. And as you described, the conventional stroke play of Kohli The shot he played, I really enjoyed them both batting in the baggy blue caps as well, which is quite attractive. They brought up their 100 partnership where he knows that might be a Hall of Fame entry.
With the double spin gave them the opportunity, and it must be pretty warm.
Yeah, the game has settled down. So Kohli takes 96 balls to reach his 50. So there's no, to use the parlance that we've got in England at the moment, no Bazball about this. Of course, Kohli can bat at a far higher strike rate and tempo, but doesn't really need to. 4 for 288 by the close of play, where Kohli's already up to 87 without really taking a risk, and he's there with Jadeja, who's playing at a similar kind of tone. He was 36 when they returned for the second day, and they have to confront the second new ball, but they're doing it from a position of strength. The point I'm trying to make is the Windies didn't seize their opportunity. Yeah. After opening it up, big opening stand, where they go to lunch in great shape, the Windies are probably ahead in the test match by tea, if you like, albeit only 2 sessions in. But by stumps, clearly, India had the ascendancy.
Yeah, that's sort of how it looked to me as well. And Kohli getting more expansive, starting to play the pull shots against the shorter ball, brings up that 100 with a square drive. And it felt significant in that, okay, he made the one in Ahmedabad on the flattest pitch in the world. But that was after so long. It had been such a long wait for a Test 100. For him to back up pretty soon after that and make another one at his 29th. Everybody's been getting into the 30s recently, Smith, Root. Williamson passed 30 on his
Not quite. Mark? Yeah, I think Williamson's in the high 20s as well.
So, that 4 sort of moving up into that kind of territory, the post-Bradman territory, I guess, of the 29. So Kohli will be confident of joining that group shortly. 74 in international cricket. The dream's alive, Jeff. You've been talking about Kohli reaching 100 hundreds in international cricket for probably 5 years now. So the fact that he's rattled off 4 in pretty quick time. I say pretty quick time. It's probably the best part of a year, but the point stands that he's found his ability to make tons again. No, it's quicker than that, isn't it? Because there were 4 in a bunch of one-dayers before the Test series against Australia.
What was he stuck on? He was stuck on 67, maybe.
Maybe 70. Maybe he's gone from 70 to 74.
Yeah, I've got a feeling it's 74. Anyway, the point is that Kohli
might be up to
is
76
within.
now. I really should have run the numbers.
He's within striking distance, and you wouldn't have thought that 12 months ago when he was in that sustained rut when it came to international centuries across the 3 formats, domestic T20 cricket as well with the RCB. But yeah, the glorious square drive to get there, which is right out of the sort of Kohli, YouTube highlight reel, if you like. We've seen him play that shot many times over the years, only to get himself run out. How's this, Jeff? Virat Kohli run out for just the 3rd time in his Test career, which you think about how much he's played now. The direct hit from Alzarri Joseph. When he was on 121, just when it felt like he was trending towards a real big one. He should have made a ton last week, getting out in the 70s at Dominica. But having posted 3 figures, he would have been thinking, right, time for another Virat Kohli double, time to turn the clock back 5 or 6 years when he was making those routinely. But to get out, run out, bit of confusion there with Jadeja. That'll be, it'll be a bittersweet departure from the field, but knowing that most of the hard work was done.
76, I just checked.
76, right?
Yes, because it was
4th quarter. He's into the 4th quarter.
That's right. It's up to the 29 with the 46 in one days, and it was 28 in Tests, and there was the one T21 that happened recently. So when he's run out, that eventually brings Ravichandran Ashwin into the fray.
Not quite, via Ishan Kishan, he's 10 from 4. I thought that it was a brief innings from Ishan Kishan, but it kind of comes back to our point about Rishabh Pant, doesn't it, a couple of weeks ago, that longer term for India, or even in the medium term, that if they wish to try and have a like for like with Rishabh, the way that the speed that Test cricket's being played at in the series we've been covering in England, if that does start to take hold around the world, you need a wicketkeeper who can bat in 5th gear pretty much from the get-go. And Ishan being 10 from 4, they could have gone bang bang. There's a catch put down in the cordon. Or Blackwood was in the wrong spot, went through a slip. He was in the gully. They moved in the ball before, but nevertheless, I just thought that was a brief but important cameo from a guy who's trying to establish his credentials as the first choice keeper in the absence of Punt.
And then Ashwin, who has the love affair with playing against West Indies, as we mentioned. Calm and controlled, went through cover, went through backward point, overturns the LBW from Warrican when he's on 18. I sort of enjoy a spinner being able to read that. He's like, I think that's a bit high and going down. And guess what? It was a bit high and going down. I thought it was
out on face. When I saw it live, I'm like, that's plumb. But I guess that's the penetration of the ball that hits the surface and hits the seam and goes straight on.
And then, plays the uppercut twice on his way to 50 when he's batting with number 11 as well. And then, West Indies reply quite entertaining, not in the scoring rate, but in terms of how it unfolded. So an opening stand of 71 between Braithwaite and Chanderpaul. and Chanderpaul gets out with a Jadeja-Ashwin combination, slicing one to backward point. But Kirk Edwards on debut looked pretty good for 32.
That towering 6-over long off late in the day, was that like the second last over of the day or something like that? And again, it kind of, if you want to make it as a modern Test player, you've got to show that you can do that pretty early on. I don't feel emotionally wedded to that kind of cricket, but it is the direction of travel. And even the way that Ashwin played, just to come back to him for a moment, is he playing for another IPL contract at Rajasthan as a batter? Is he? I like the way that he played a couple of those. It was a couple of uppercuts. There was a little ramp thing going on there. I'm never very good at describing the more modern T20 shots, but Ashwin, he's got a great record against the Windies, but with the bat, and he can play beautifully through the line, especially when cover driving, but showing that he's got a few extra tricks as well that never goes astray.
Kirk Edwards on debut, getting out to Mukesh Kumar on debut. Yes. That was enjoyable as well. We talked about Mukesh Kumar maybe during the weekly show when we were talking through the squad, so a couple of debutants going head to head there, and then the Braithwaite and Blackwood partnership just really annoying India for a long time. Ashwin had bowled 26 overs before he got through Kraigg Braithwaite, who got an all-time ragger and just turned an absolute mile off the pitch through the gate. Like, not a lot you can do about that. He was playing it as well as he could on the forward defence, and it still squeaked through somehow and took his stump.
I loved him bowling marathon spells. Either side of that lunch break, I think it was 8 one side, 7 on the other. And he just kept putting in the yards. Because, he didn't start too well on evening 2. A couple of full tosses to Chanderpaul, which he made the most of, and just took a while to find his groove. Usually with the new ball, he's a threat straight away. He wasn't, but, putting in the yards. 2 old warriors, Ashwin at one end, Braithwaite at the other, who we know can bat for hours and hours to repel an attack. And that's what he was trying to do. And as you say, it took a ball that spun and bit. And did as Ashwin can also do. We think of his variations and the subtlety, changes of pace, spots on the crease, the way he can dig into his bag of tricks, but an old-fashioned one that rags is just as good.
And then, you're talking about old stages, Rahane at slip, the one from Jadeja off Blackwood, who's made 20 off 92 at this point. Very un-Blackwood style. All-timer, that catch at slip, and the one hand going the wrong way, and the speed of the delivery off the edge of the bat somehow manages to scoop it up. A wicket picked up there, and then Siraj with the crazy in-swinger to knock over Josh De Silva late in the day.
Woodstock Cricket's own Josh De Silva. Get a discount on a Woodstock bat. TFW20, the link to that's in the show notes. But Josh De Silva is the one Test cricketer using the bats that Jeff and I have an association with. So if you like Josh De Silva, and better still, if you like his mum. I hope everyone's seen the video of Josh De Silva's mum during the week when seeing Virat Kohli for the first time and hugging him and kissing him over and over again. It was and saying how much she adores the work of Kohli after he made the 100 a couple of days ago. If you like Josh De Silva and you like his mum and you like his bat, woodstockcricket.co.uk, TFW20 is the code.
She said, I get to see Josh all the time. I've never got to see Virat Kohli before.
It was nice with Josh taking the vision and the pictures as well. He's a good lad.
Which should be an entry in the Final Word Hall of Fame. But now, let's come to it. It's the Hall of Fame, where we pick the moments that we enjoyed during the day. Josh De Silva's mum could have been in here. I enjoyed Jadeja bowling in the black headband.
I was going to say the same thing.
Anti-broad. It's like the spy versus spy thing. You've got the white headband and the black headband, and maybe they're playing pranks on each other. They're like, cutting through the floor underneath the other one's feet, that sort of thing.
It reminded me of what are they, when you go skiing, not that I've gone skiing, and I didn't come from a wealthy family or anything, but the ski band that you wear across your head, that's like a really big, thick style thing. But I think Jamie from Big Brother 4 in Australia, or thereabouts, 2006, was wearing it every night and did quite well in the competition. I was reminded of him when watching Jadeja bowl, albeit in a sort of a cloth version, not a full sort of thick woolen version. But there's a nice reference to you Big Brother fans from the early 2000s for you.
The commentary bit, you can tell when someone's pre-written their commentary for the big moment.
You sure can.
The Kohli 100. A Delhi batting prodigy who continues to rise like the phoenix and remains steadfast in his commitment to batting excellence. I was like, is this a press release? What's
Yes, the first annual Montgomery Burns Award for outstanding achievement in the field of...
Also, can you continue to rise like the phoenix? Like, the point about the phoenix is that it fails and disappears, and then it dies, and then it's rekindled. It lights a fire.
Well, now into
it, fire, and then it grows out of the ashes of the fire.
Now we're in a whole Eurovision conversation. I won't take it down. I've got Hall of Fame. What do I have here? I wasn't maybe a huge fan of Jadeja doing the when getting to 50. It just didn't feel like Didn't feel like it to me.
He wasn't feeling it. He was like, well, I have to do this now because this is my thing.
Yeah.
But he wasn't that pumped up about reaching 50.
No, what I wrote down was Jadeja and what he was bowling into. And also bringing up the 100 stamp, batting in those two baggy blue caps. I know there's a safety component to this, and not everyone will agree with this and agree with me when I say this, but there's still something quaint and special about watching batters go about their work in Test cricket not wearing a lid.
And finally, the sponsor named Astral Pipes, which I've always enjoyed. I don't know what it is, don't know what they sell, but I just imagine like a meditation ceremony where you project yourself into a space between the universes where you're really pumped, like you've just got massive biceps or whatever. It's like working out in the mental gym. Maybe it could be Marcus Stoinis adjacent. Like you've got to work on your body, but also your mind. Sure, you've been working on your pipes, but have you been working on your astral pipes? Yeah,
I was thinking more John Embry adjacent. Anyway, Alick Athanaze, we didn't mention him on the way through.
Yes.
He just looks to me like, it's not Hall of Fame really, it's just more something I missed before. Just strikes me that he's got this really exciting Test career ahead of him. I just really hope that he's allowed to let that flourish as a West Indian Test cricketer. We've talked about this extensively on the weekly show last week. If you want to go back and listen to that in the feed or on the YouTube channel about...
he shifted his approach, right? The first Test he was more aggressive, went after them. This time 37 not out from 111, recognising that he needed to bat some time in the match. It showed a maturity of approach. You can go way too early on Test cricketers in their first couple of games and read too much into it, but he does look promising.
And they're so far behind the game from here 3 days in. They'll need a lot to go right. I haven't seen the forecasts for Port of Spain today, but hopefully it's good enough that the Windies can, from where they're sitting, he's probably on the available evidence of what we've seen, he's got a 22-ball one-day international half-century as well. Could lift the tempo, and if they were to get in a lead, and maybe
still
possibly
200 behind. So
I wouldn't mind them declaring behind. I think that the Windies, if they're serious about having a chance of winning the Test, they might be in a position where they need to declare 100 behind or 50 behind maybe. Either way, give themselves a chance to have a serious crack at India today from behind, and if they can engineer a chase of 300 on the final day, it'll be hard to do, but they'll probably need to take all 10 second innings wickets on day 4 to give themselves any chance on day 5. In my view, the sooner they get to work on that, the better.
Yeah, I think there's definitely an argument for that with a couple of days to play, and whether there'll be more rain interruptions, we're not too sure. We will be following along the rest of the Test match. We'll probably look at it on the Final Word weekly show when we get around to that after the other Test match that we're currently in the middle of, where it's raining in Manchester on the 5th day. This has been the Final Word West Indies India Daily. We've made 2 of them now, so it's actually a daily show. Sure, it's been one in each Test match, but we are doing the best that we can. Jeff Lemon, Adam Collins, if you like what we do, patreon.com/thefinalword. We'll see you soon.
Ta-da.